I got this.
All right. 1, 2, 3. What it is! How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the newest Marvel film to hit the theaters. We're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about the Rudds and their Pauls, talk about the Majors and their Jonathans. We're going to talk about getting real small and societies living on a molecular level, all the stuff. And if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the first ones to die. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of the First Ones to Die podcast. I am your lovely host, Jerome Rhett, here with a special guest and also my favorite of the other two co-hosts, Alex. Yeah, that's right, Jonathan. I'm throwing shade because you're not here.
It's fine. He always throws shade at me.
It's not true. I love you both equally, but Alex, you like, we got that brother sister thing going on. So
that's his nice way of saying that I'm mean to him, but in a nice way, a loving way.
How are you doing? How are you?
I'm doing good. Got into a little fender bender yesterday, but like my car's fine. I love having an older car because when it does get hit, it keeps going. Although now that it's cold, it keeps dying on me, so I have to jump it. So, you know, it's like a catch-22 with that car. But I'm doing good, not bad. I saw the movie we're reviewing today, so it's fresh in my mind. I don't have questions written out like I did with James and Giant Peach. I feel like it was pretty solid storytelling for this one. So, but all around, like, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just been kind of living life. Getting ready for once again, I'm gonna plug it again, but this time at the beginning of the episode, not the end like I did a couple weeks back. Excited for my short story from DC Comics to come out with the New Talent Showcase coming. That's going to be on March 18th, so mark your calendars, audience, and come to your local comic book store so you can pick up stories by not only myself but also all the Milestone Initiative cohort. So come check out all those stories, and if you want to read some of what the cohort's already worked on already, go pick up DC Power #1 already in your local comic book store. I have my copy. Get you a copy so you can have some. Plus, it's just good stories, like find out more about black characters in the DC universe. All right, there's a lot of them that don't get a lot of shine. So, but other than that, been chilling. I've been watching Justified from FX, the old series with Timothy Oliphant. It's been good. It's been great. It's like a Western.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It feels like a more adult Walker, Texas Ranger, because he's like a U.S. Marshal that's been essentially like more or less kind of banished
Texas
to Kentucky.
Ranger off of CW.
Yeah,
'cause I think the old Texas Ranger was even connected to Warner Brothers Studio. Warner Brothers and CW, yeah. Once you get things off of there, things get a little more adult.
So it's good. If you haven't watched Justified, the whole series is on Hulu. Watch the whole thing. It's great. I'm loving it. And as I'm sure, audience, you could tell, Jonathan is not here. It's because Jonathan is traveling right now. But he will be back next episode. So look forward to hearing his fantastic voice next episode.
And really quick, he is traveling over to Dallas to see his sister who just recently had a baby. So congratulations to her. The baby is adorable. I can't remember her name. I'm terrible with names, but it is an adorable little baby.
Yeah, so congratulations. And Jonathan, we're thinking about you. Hope you're doing well in Dallas if you're listening to this episode. Probably not, though, because you'll listen to the episode you're not on. Anyway, in the meantime, we have another fantastic host and a familiar voice if you watched our Valentine's Day episode or listened to our Valentine's Day episode of my lovely girlfriend, Ari, is here to join us and talk about this movie. So, hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. Been really busy at work lately. My nanny baby just turned 1 year old. A big boy. So we've been really preparing for his party.
Oh, look,
So
babies
I'm
all
looking
around.
forward to that. Babies all around. Oh, my heart. And we've been playing It Takes Two. The last time was terrible. It was terrible. That poor fucking elephant. That
That's
was
spoilers. You're spoiling the
awful.
game for people who
I have
haven't
no
played
idea
it.
what is It Takes Two.
It's a co-op game, a couch co-op game that about this divorcing couple working on their relationship as they try and break a curse in which they are now like dolls that have been made by their daughter, and they're trying to reverse the spell so they can be human again. But through the process of doing that, they are becoming friends again and building their relationship and getting stronger.
Yeah, it is
That sounds like an
incredibly
Outer
fun.
Limits episode. It's a show back in like early 2090s. It was like trying to replace the Twilight Zone. Where one, it's the girl, the like daughter has a virtual game and she's making the perfect family, and her family starts slowly changing, person by person, till they're all different people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really creepy episode. I'm sorry, that's what the game now reminds me of.
Yeah, but it's an amazing game. Every single level has different mechanics introduced, and so like every single level is super fun and different. Yeah, I'm terrible at platforming in this game. Just absolutely terrible at jumping.
It did
It's
win Game of the
painful.
Year though, so
Yeah,
it's great.
rightfully so. It's a great game.
Still sounds a little creepy.
I mean, yeah, I fucking hate the book.
There's a book?
Stupid book.
There's a Spanish
Oh.
book,
Dr. Hakim.
Dr. Hakim, the Book of Love. Like that's how he sounds the whole game.
It's painful.
It is so, especially because you're half Mexican. So I just like in my
Yeah,
head,
I
I'm
was
like,
like,
do you
that
know
sounds
anybody who speaks
racist.
like that?
Yeah, it feels
It
like a
is.
microaggression.
It is because, especially
Yeah.
because the person who plays him is a white dude, because it's the same person who plays the dad.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's why it sounds like that. Okay.
At least I think he's white. I don't know if he's half Hispanic. Maybe he is, or half
Maybe.
Mexican.
I mean, I don't look it, so.
It's okay. We all
but-
come in different shades.
But you're doing. But anything else to report, Miss Lady?
No, I'm gonna make an ice cream cake tonight. That'll be fun. I look forward to ice cream.
Doesn't
Well,
look
speaking of
forward to
ice cream, and and people that work for ice cream companies, Ant-Man. I didn't know you were gonna go there, but it just worked out, so I just had to take
Baskin
advantage.
Didn't know. I felt like that was a little weak. You worked
No,
at
Baskin
there,
Robbins
or
could sponsor you.
you worked there for like 10 minutes in a movie.
I mean, you know,
I know.
enough for it to be a plot point in this one.
Fair enough.
We're talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania to be more specific, because there already was an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. And it's the newest one to come out. It is not doing well critically. Financially, it's doing fine, I think. I think people are going out to see it.
It's a Marvel movie.
Yeah, critically, though, I don't know, man. People ain't feeling this movie. It just,
Well, because this
I
one
just-
was supposed to be the jump-off start of, what is it, Phase 5 for Disney
Yeah.
films? So this was
Well,
like,
'cause
people are like,
I-
oh, I have to go see it.
because let me look at I remember looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score. Yeah, it's sitting at a 48% Rotten Tomatoes score, critic score, 83% audience score. So the audience is feeling it. Critics not so much.
Yeah,
Which
but
is
you can't go
interesting.
buy off like Rotten Tomatoes anymore. You get like their whole reviewing system is off. Like you can find that they review like good movies and they're like, oh, it's only at a 20%. Like that's bullshit.
Well,
So I would
it's,
never
like,
go for Rotten Tomatoes score.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes isn't a review site. All it does is just compile reviews together and just give an average blanket score. That's why I'm like, there's some people who are like, but Rotten Tomatoes said, I'm like, Rotten Tomatoes is literally like walking into a room and asking 1,000 people what they thought about a movie at the same time and trying to gauge if the movie's good off of that. Like,
Hot or cold?
yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not, you can't necessarily just be like, Rotten Tomatoes said it's a 50%, so the movie's bad. I'm like, all right. But I do think it is weird, though, that a lot of the reviews have come in for this movie have been very, like, middle of the road to it's bad.
I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
We're going to give audience, for those who are tuning in for the first time and don't know how we do our reviews, we're going to give just our general thoughts about the movie, just saying whether we liked it or not, things we liked, things we didn't like, if there are any. And then after that, we're going to do a whole spoiler section. And we will announce when that happens. So don't worry. If you haven't seen the movie yet, stick around for our general thoughts, and then we will tell you when the spoiler section is coming up so that you can hop off, go watch the movie, then come back and listen to the rest of this podcast goodness, because we know you're gonna want a piece of this. All right, trust me, you're gonna want to hear this whole conversation. So we'll start with you, Alex. What'd you think of Ant-Man and the Wasp? Quantumania. Listen, the podcast goodness thing has lasted since we were behind the usher station.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I still make that same face every single video. So it's not bad. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. The fact that the whole movie is pretty much CGI is impressive because the CGI didn't look horrible. But the actual story is kind of not great. Without going into too much detail, Kang became weak almost in the middle when fighting Ant-Man, when he did all this cool stuff at the beginning when he was first being introduced. They took away his power in the middle almost, and it was just well, this could have been a more epic battle going on between these two. And that kind of made the movie feel like it was slowing down a lot more. And the ending, I wish it had ended a different way, and I wish I will go into more detail with that. But overall, it was just a movie I enjoyed because it was a Paul Rudd movie more than anything. I enjoyed his acting. I enjoyed his character. Not too much fan of everything else that was going on. And I get what was going on because this is kind of the introduction phase for phase 5 for Disney. And they're trying to have this almost as an open chapter and introducing Kang. But I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on it a bit. They could have done much more with this. So that's kind of where I'm standing on it right now.
Ari, what do you think?
I liked it. I am not a movie critic connoisseur. I go off of vibes. If I like a movie, I do. And as far as visuals, shapes and colors, loved it. I love sci-fi. It felt like space western almost, in the way that it was presented. So I liked it. I think Paul Rudd is funny. Yeah, the plot was a little bit tired. I don't know. I feel like it's just been done a lot, but that's kind of the movie theater recipe. So,
especially for Marvel.
They like what they like, okay?
Really do.
But yeah. I mean, I enjoyed myself. It was fun.
I think I definitely feel a lot of your sentiments, Alex, on this movie. I do think it's okay. I don't think it's amazing or anything. I don't think it's bad. But I do think the movie falls flat is that it's not willing to go the places that I think it should, especially because I know that I get it. This movie wanted to be another Ant-Man movie. And in history of the Ant-Man franchise so far, it's been that the Ant-Man movies have been very low key, very down to earth. We're not saving the world. We're just trying to steal something, or we're just trying to get a laboratory back from some bad guys. That's always been where the Ant-Man movies have thrived. This one is introducing this larger than life character, and by all accounts this character who's supposed to be the next Thanos essentially, with how big and bad he's supposed to be, and yet they don't want to go the mile of him being that character, because they're well, it's Ant-Man, it still has to be goofy and lighthearted, and it's okay, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Is this a serious dark movie introducing this super evil badass character, or is it an Ant-Man movie that's super lighthearted? Because if you wanted to be a badass introduction, then this Ant-Man movie has to be different than the rest. It can't be like the rest of them because it's a totally different vibe and expectation and feel. And I feel like this movie struggled trying to balance the two out instead of just picking one or the other. And I almost wish this was that Kang was the same, same character, everything in this movie, but that this wasn't an Ant-Man movie, that it was any other Marvel character. Because I feel like
it kind of
would have been better.
Vibe. It kind of has that same vibe of where they're like, oh, it's a Doctor Strange movie, you know, the multiverse madness. No. It was a Wanda movie. This was a Wanda movie. It was the villains movie, and we were focusing on that. You named it Doctor Strange, but, like, we know who we were watching and, like, who's, like, the focus of the story. It wasn't Ant-Man, it was Kang. And, like, that's cool. And, like, this introduction is cool, but, like, this is an Ant-Man movie.
Yeah. So I was kind of disappointed in, like, that they, in the sense that I'm like, this is phase 5. Like, we're really deep in the weeds now in the MCU. Y'all have got to start changing it up in the formula, because at this point it's like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason when the McRib comes back at McDonald's, everybody lines up to get the McRib, because you can only get it for a limited time. The end games and the Infinity Wars are the McRibs at this point of the MCU, because everything else we're getting from this point forward is like everything that we've already gotten before from the MCU constantly. And when you got like DC Comics coming out on the bend, they're gonna change some things up. They got James Gunn at the helm now and all this other stuff coming. I'm like, if they don't start changing up the strategy, I'm worried it's gonna be like the 2000s again, where DC was on top with the Dark Knights and the Batmans and Superman. Like, they were the ones making the movies people wanted to see, and the Marvel movies we were getting were Ghost Rider and Elektra and Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Those were horrible.
You know what I mean?
Ghost Rider wasn't as, it could have been.
Ghost Rider wasn't as bad as Elektra or Daredevil, but it was
worse,
still like, it's still on the lower side. The only best one was Blade. That was the good one.
I don't feel like
I've never seen Blade.
These.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got to watch.
I think I just glossed over it.
Listen, you want to know why people appreciate the MCU now? It's because we got those, like back in the day.
See, I looked up like watch the timeline in order. I don't think I watched those.
Those weren't MCU movies back then. That's back when Marvel was just making movies to make movies. The best ones were Spider-Man 1 and 2, X-Men 1 and 2, and Blade. Iron Man was the start of the MCU because Marvel had made movies for a while, except X-Men movies after that. And then Iron Man came and it was like, oh, shoot, Marvel can make movies that aren't X-Men and they be good?
Well, that's the way it's with DC. DC can make movies that aren't about Batman and Superman. Well, still, clearly not. They can't.
Well, I mean,
you going to be their jumping off start always.
I love Deadpool.
Deadpool's also Marvel.
Yeah. Oh no.
It's okay.
The only reason I remember Deadpool being Marvel is because he interacts with the X-Men. That's the only way I remember.
Spider-Man. I should have. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there is a. I gotta get that Spider-Man Deadpool comic one day. I remember reading them when I came out, but anyway. So those are our general thoughts about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Audience, very lukewarm. Very lukewarm. We're about to get into the spoiler section, but before you go, hold on, wait a minute. Don't pause just yet. Hold on. Before you go, if you want to hear more reviews from us or hear more about what we got going on, go on over to the YouTube channel at The First Ones to Die and follow us on all our social medias at The First Ones to Die to see all news about all new reviews we're doing, content, all types of stuff. So make sure you do that. Then, pause this. Don't stop it. Just pause it. Go watch the movie. Come on back. Listen to what else we have to say. Going into spoilers, do you guys want to start with Kang? Because I feel like he's the best part of this movie.
No, I want to start with the thing that pissed me off the most, and that was the end. I want to start straight off with the end.
Okay, yeah. Let's start with the ending. Why not?
They teased us with his death. They're like, it kind of felt like Scott Lang was going to die. They even gave that brilliant line of like, hey, I don't have to win. We just both have to lose.
See, I thought it wasn't that he was gonna die. Is that they were both gonna be stuck there? They were just gonna be there the rest.
That still would have been better. Either Scott Lang dying or them being stuck together would have felt more. I think I'm alone now.
Audience,
I do. Is it not me?
I forgot the
I'm not the problem.
There we go.
We're back.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me this time.
Was it?
Yeah, you guys left.
Because the Wi-Fi's still up. Okay.
Ha! How does it feel?
Right. Well, anyway, continue what you were saying.
I thought the story would have ended better either with Scott Lang dying or getting stuck in that, quantum realm. Because also, after that delivery of that line, it builds this, climax of something's going to happen. But then it's kind of yeah, it's a badass line. But it's, anticlimactic when it's like, oh, well, all right, everybody's alive, so.
Even if
really matter?
Ant-Man and the Wasp, if they got stuck there, it felt very, Deus Ex Machina, that, and then the daughter saves them, and they come back out. I feel like they should have been stuck there at the end of the movie.
Supposedly, I've heard a rumor that there was the script kept getting rewritten, and that the original ending was that Ant-Man was supposed to lose. And then, I don't know if Kang was going to escape or whatever, but Wasp wasn't going to come to save him, and that Kang was going to escape. Was one of the original endings they had for this movie. And then they changed, and I'm sure what happened is they probably changed it because either they put it in front of test audiences, and test audiences were like, not Ant-Man, not Paul Rudd.
They really gotta stop using test audiences, because at this point they're just fucking over their own movies, apparently.
That's what I meant by in my general thoughts, where I'm like, this movie feels like they don't want to make the leaps that this movie needs. Because one of the best part about Thanos not being in any of the movies as a threat until the last two, with Infinity War and Endgame, was that you had all this build up. You have all these characters. You got Gamora, Ronan, Nebula, all these characters being yo, when Thanos gets here though, Thanos is gonna wreck shop, he's gonna kick some ass, and we ain't ready for that. We don't want the smoke. There's all this build up to this character. So then when they hit Infinity War, and the first thing this man does is hand the Hulk his ass and kill Loki, beat the shit out of Thor, and then just be and I wish somebody would say something about it, and then disappear. It established a tone immediately. This dude is not to be messed with. They weren't bullshitting. He really is a monster.
And that's also what I was saying about how they had King show this amazing power way at the beginning, and then he can't defeat Ant-Man.
That's the thing. It's
he's the one that dies.
Fists.
Of course he doesn't. Yeah, and it's just okay. So Ant-Man, I know he has a sense of dread in him now forever till the next day. But it's he just goes on with his happy, merry little way, and it's well, no, that's not ominous or anything. Oh, he gets a creepy feeling. We all get creepy feelings.
Right.
It's not it's a normal thing. So I felt when they made Kang look weaker, they could have given the character a much cooler way to end the movie, and it just felt it was so anticlimactic. Oh, okay, hero won, I guess, in a way, and that's what I felt at the end of this movie.
Especially because
I like Paul Rudd a lot.
Well, I feel because I didn't want him to die, but I feel it would have been cool if maybe Kang was stuck, but if him and Ant-Man had been stuck together, and then Kang's you thwarted my plans, but I know nothing about PIM technology, so I'm going to keep you alive because I need you. Mm-hmm. But make no mistake, the second I don't, I will kill you. And it's and then, because the Avengers movie this is all leading to is called Kang Dynasty. So when we get there, I assume, it would have been cool if all this build up, and then when we get to Kang Dynasty, Ant-Man's still alive, and he escapes somehow, and he gets to the Avengers y'all don't understand, this man is unstoppable. It would have been a cool thing.
The Gamora Nebula of Thanos' bad news.
Right. You know what I mean?
Well, when he talked even about being in the quantum realm in the Avengers Endgame, where he's oh, it's only been 5 hours down there for me, and he's I need food. I'm I need a sandwich. There was that sense of urgency and panic of being trapped in this whole other realm. And while years and years, while years and years pass you by, it's only been 5 hours. That's creepy.
How long were they there?
That's, and I thought it was weird that Paul Rudd Ant-Man brings that up to Cassie when she's we have to help these people. And he's do you understand? I've been here. I know what it's to be in the quantum realm. For all we know, we could be here for minutes. And meanwhile, in the real world, we've been gone for hundreds of years. And they say that in
your mom could be dead.
Right, but they say that in one line, and then Cassie's rah! And then they just forget about it for the rest of the movie. And I'm like, no, that's like a legit concern. Like, for all you know, y'all could be down there for years in the real world.
Well, it's like when they're like, oh, have people come back to reality after Thanos' snap. And everybody's like, well, they've been gone for 5 years. Now we have all these other issues. Try imagining bringing everybody that was in the quantum realm. They could be back from like hundreds of years, just bringing them into the modern age. That's a whole new system you got to deal with.
Also, I was thinking, like, the people down there, wouldn't they have gotten snapped too? Nobody said anything about being snapped.
I guess not.
But they're
I think because it's technically,
universe.
But it's a different.
Is it because it's
technically
outside
Delpha
the
realm?
universe?
Yeah.
No, what it is they didn't know that existed yet because they hadn't written it. So they like.
Yeah, but it's a different realm. It's a different realm, so they could use that excuse that it was like.
Well, because like
world.
I only say it that way because this is literally how comic books operate too, where it's like Batman will be doing this thing, and then like in a like story years later, it's like. And but what you didn't know is that in Crime Alley there was also another criminal that shot Batman's parents, and you're like, well, where were they the entire time? Shut up and read this Batman story. It's like exactly because they didn't exist before you came up with this idea, and you didn't think about how it ties into the rest of the universe. Or how it breaks the universe.
And book and everything. They're like, this is a great way to fix this problem. Well, why didn't they use it way at the beginning? That's not the point. It's great to fix it now.
Mm-hmm. It's the same thing when like they bring up Captain Marvel in her movie, where her movie takes place in the 90s and she meets Nick Fury and Coulson, and people are like, wait a minute, hold on a second. If she existed in the 90s and S.H.I.E.L.D. knows she was there, why are they surprised with all these superheroes are running around and all these powers and aliens and what? Why would we not already have stuff in place to deal with them by the time we hit Avengers, when there's a whole alien invasion and the government's just like, let's just nuke the city?
Because there was already aliens.
Right, we already knew that aliens existed.
That was the government's plan, to nuke the city. That's it. That's usually the plan in governments and movies. Just nuke the city, it's fine. Well, all those people, I mean...
But for me, I think that's another part of the contention for me in the movie, where I'm like, I get that the quantum realm, like, it's like, to save on budget, you want to have like human characters in like your magic realms, and it makes sense in space because humans have been to space. So it's like, I don't know, maybe you got sucked into a wormhole or something or whatever. So when we traveling with the Guardians and we land on a planet and there's just a human person there, it's like, okay, sure. Because also hypothetically, maybe they're not a human, maybe that's just the form they're taking, but they can shapeshift or something. But in the quantum realm, I'm like, why are there people here? In fact, the quantum realm looks too much like space to me, where I'm like, everything is on flat ground. Like, I feel Marvel's realms are starting to all feel the same. It's like
everything
if you're
is space.
Everything feels like space if it's not Earth. Like I'm just like, it'd be cool if maybe like gravity is weird here, or maybe
That's a lot of mental effort for the team though.
But I'm just saying, it's like there's a lot of stuff where they try, and there's some creative ideas in here, but just the idea of like, the most creative it ever gets is you have to drink the ooze of another character in here to understand the language, and the houses are alive. That's it.
I would just like to say though, what was with the holes guy? That made me wildly uncomfortable.
Well, it's just like the Taserface joke in Guardians 2, where it's like the writers think this is so funny because they're like,
the running jokes though.
There's so many of them.
There was a lot of beating of dead horses of the jokes in this. Like, they really made Darren. What was it? George Lopez,
MODOK, from Shark Boy,
and Lava Girl. That's all I could think of. I'm like, that's the same idea. And they also set it up like, this man is a trained killer. He's not man. He's not machine. You need to be fucking afraid. And then they get here, and it's just a baby with guns.
What's funny is too, is like, that is what MODOK looks like in the comics, but MODOK is like a threat. Like, he's a serious character, and in this he's just a regular dude. He's just like, hey guys, how's it going? What's going on? Anyway, I'm gonna kill you. Like,
he got, I don't know, his ass handed to him by a moody young adult teenager.
The young adult in this movie, Cassie, his daughter, I also thought she was she was an interesting development, but also she seemed a little bit like forcibly made. Like she's a political activist and like cool and like she's getting arrested. Like yeah, that has a vibe. But then also she understands like quantum dynamics and you know all this stuff. Like you're like 16, man. How are you this smart already?
Is she 16? I thought she was older than that.
No, she's supposed to be. Because I think
every
Ant-Man,
teenager's 16 to me.
Ant-Man the Wasp, she's like I think she's supposed to be like 10 or something, and then if we're saying like she skipped 5 years because of Thanos, and then like another extra year for like things going back to normal, I guess we could say she's probably 16.
16, 17.
Yeah.
Okay. But I did feel chemistry with her and the leader of the tribe. I looked it up on the IMDb. Gentora.
Yeah.
I felt chemistry there. Okay, I don't care.
You
Probably
just kept
was.
looking at her abs.
Okay, but like, it's hard not to.
I was too. I was like, dang, she's strong.
Yeah.
At least she looks strong.
She could pick me up.
Well, for bench pressing. But yeah, I was like, you're like 16. Why are you this? Why is it all the? Why are all the kids still this smart? Yeah.
Catherine, I do think that is a thing that is. It's why, because Riri Williams in Black Panther, is another one of those characters where it's like, it's why she never really sold well. People had an issue when that character was introduced because her first story is like she's in college, but she's 16 in college because she's so smart. In fact, they literally put a number on it. They say she's the 8th smartest person in the Marvel universe, and she built an Iron Man suit in college out of junk. And a lot of people are like, okay, let me get this straight. This man who's a billionaire needs billions of dollars to make an Iron Man suit.
He made an Iron Man suit in a cave.
Yeah, but it fell apart.
And it was literally poisoning him, too. Like, it was like, yeah, literally poisoning him.
But this girl, she made an Iron Man suit just in her backyard, no problem. And a lot of people had an issue with that when she's introduced. So in Black Panther, when they're like, yep, she just has Iron Man tech. And now it's like, now you got Cassie who's like, yep, Cassie didn't have to go to school for engineering, nothing. She just builds a quantum radio, essentially.
It's hereditary.
But that's the thing. No,
well, I'm just saying.
Scott didn't build. Scott's not a that smart though. Hank is, and she's not related to him at all.
Oh, okay,
and that was like
her
another thing too. Is like the quantum realm isn't like supposed to be well known, right? There's not a lot of research or study on it. That's why it took so long to get that mom out. So like, how were you able to understand the quantum realm enough to be able to build a beacon and then it transform into a portal to it?
Kang made it a portal, but they say that they try to excuse it by saying like, well, she's been doing it with Hank and Hope, and I'm like, they don't know anything about the quantum realm. Only Scott and Janet do. So
it's clearly shown Hope does not approve of the beacon. She gets mad. She's like, shut it off. Janet, sorry.
It's trust me. It's like that's.
Also, why the fuck did Janet not say anything about her time there?
Because the script needs her to not tell them what's going on so that the plot can happen.
I know, but the second like shit went down and they got stuck in there, I'd be like, no. Sit your ass down. Tell me exactly what you know.
Well, especially because, like, when they first arrive, she's like, "I don't have time to tell you what's going on," and that creature and those ships fly by, and I'm like, "Okay, cool. I guess that makes sense." But then they're walking to the bar, and I'm like, "Okay, so you're telling me this whole journey to just get to this space bar? You didn't have time to tell us then what's going on?"
Walk and talk. Walk and talk.
Did they ever explain why she built a beacon for the quantum realm? Why she was trying to get down there?
She was just trying to, like, I think, like Cassie said, they were trying to
map it so that the thing that happened to her dad wouldn't happen again.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to map it so they could figure out how to find him down there.
There has to be some sort of movie hook.
it's just Cassie's whole thing, because I think Catherine Newton's doing all the actors do, I think, a pretty decent job. I think Jonathan Majors and Paul Rudd are doing the best job, especially Jonathan Majors. But I do...
Yes, we know our love for him.
Yeah. But I do think that Cassie's character was underdeveloped, or at least the relationship between her and Ant-Man was underdeveloped. Because this whole thing of her wanting to be essentially a superhero, but then Scott is not discouraging her from being a superhero, but just doing it in a way that keeps her safe. And she just keeps dismissing him like he hasn't gone through like a lot of shit in his life. The man's been gone to jail multiple times for doing the right thing before he was Ant-Man. After he was Ant-Man, he got trapped in the quantum realm and had to help the event. And that was after he went to jail for helping Captain America. Like, if anybody knows what it's like to be a superhero but do it the wrong way, it's Ant-Man.
And also, like, there was that whole second movie where he was under house arrest, and it's like, your father couldn't leave his house. Like,
because of his superhero heroics.
Yeah, because of his superhero heroics. Like, he missed a good chunk of your life. But, let me go do that, too.
And then also she kept, like, she brought it up. Like, you were gone. Like he went out to get milk and then left her. Not like... I mean, I guess she didn't, like, in that 5 years, but also she thought that he got blipped. So why is he upset? Yeah. Why was she upset?
Well, it's more that she's upset because she's like, Dad, you don't do anything. And he's like, yeah.
I did it.
Because I already did the thing. There's no, like, and also, this is the Marvel Universe, girl. We kill our villains. There's none left to fight right now.
Well, apparently
there's nothing to do.
She wants him to become a senator, okay? Pass legislation.
I have book readings to do.
You see this fancy-ass house we live in? It is not cheap.
Which, funny enough, I was telling Ara, you can buy that book, by the way, by Scott Lang, like on Amazon.
I believe it. I would not doubt that, of course. Marvel will, like, find a way to pocket anything anyway.
It's true. They're trying to make money no matter any way they can.
Yeah.
Heck, we'll make books made by fictional characters. Screw it.
Disney literally has their hands in every goddamn pudding pie.
They do.
I just wish I wish there was more conversation between the two of them, because the whole thing is just Cassie being like, Dad, you don't do anything. And I'm like, I'm Ant-Man. Okay? I have saved the world twice over.
He deserves a break. He's been through a lot. Maybe give him some time after, going into space and fighting Thanos. Yeah.
Yeah, you fight your first Spider-Man or space alien, and then you come talk to me about the struggles of being a superhero.
No, she wants him to go and, like, volunteer at soup kitchens.
She wants him to be Batman. She wants him to go out every night in the Ant-Man suit and fight crime.
Your boy's
sure
old.
Batman's on drugs.
He's tired.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
He's on taking caffeine pills.
You mean cocaine pills?
Hey, this is a family show. This is a family show.
I did say
this is
said
definitely
caffeine.
not a family show. All right, every episode has been marked explicit on this podcast.
How dare you?
The Janet thing though was frustrating. Of Janet consistently not telling them what was going on, and they keep being like, "Mom, what's going on? Janet, tell us what's going on." I just can't. It's like, yes, you can. We're literally in the ship right now. Any information is good information.
And then they kind of glossed over the fact that, like, maybe it wasn't that she had an affair because she thought she was never going home. But then when she got back, she didn't tell her husband because she said there's nobody down there. And I feel like that lying was betrayal of their relationship. Like, if she had been like, hey, I didn't think I was coming home. Like, I saw other people. Like, But I was like, oh, we're just gonna, that's fine.
Again, it's because none of that existed before, so it never was a plot point till now.
And then her, like, ex or whatever the fuck.
Oh, yeah, Bill Murray, yeah.
Bill Murray. Okay, Bill Murray was in it. Was like, yeah, I tapped that. This is your husband? Hey, I tapped that. I tapped that a lot. Okay, anyway, let's go to jail. Like... And then that was fine.
Bill Murray's inclusion in this movie makes no sense too, because it feels like
he's just a person.
Well, not only that, it feels like he could have been any other character and would not have changed the plot at all.
Well, they gotta introduce Kang even more. He
Well,
was kind of building up towards it too.
It's more just the fact that it's Bill Murray. I'm like, you got Bill Murray, and all y'all had him do was just do this. Like,
What did you want him to do? This was supposed to be more serious.
well, I wanted him to be kind of like how Lawrence Fishburne was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, where he's a character. I didn't want him to do an action sequence or nothing.
He had literally one
But
scene.
Lawrence Fishburne, like, is throughout the entire movie. He's like a person, not this. This is like Bill. He might as well have been Bill Murray. Just been like, hey, I'm Bill. You know, like in between movies, sometimes I hang out in the quantum realm. Anyway, like, what's
I
going
bet
on?
he does. He probably has enough money.
But I think when they went into the core, that was a pretty cool scene. I like that. That was fun. Kaleidoscope of Paul.
Yeah, I will say, like, the CGI is, like,
It was really good.
decent in this film. It wasn't as glitchy or cartoony as I thought it was going to be, and this pretty much the whole film is filmed in, like, CGI and green screen. So, like, I will give props to that it looked visually, you know, pretty and, like, colorful and bright, and it was like being in a kaleidoscope.
Mm-hmm.
Where you just, you know, keep swirling, too.
The only thing that was distracting was the green screen. Like, sometimes the green screen looked really good. Sometimes the green screen, it was like, you could tell it's like, y'all are clearly on a soundstage. But overall, I do agree. I think the CG looked great, especially on the ants. Ants look cool.
Yeah,
I like
well,
ants.
they did.
The ants looked really cool.
I don't trust them.
What?
They'll one day
I watch
rise
ant
against us and
videos.
take our revenge. They'll one day rise against us and take their revenge.
There's enough of them to do it.
There are, and
they
they can
are.
lift I don't know how many weights.
Hardworking, strong females. Okay.
Yeah.
They work and they live and they take lots of naps a day and they are quite cute in my opinion.
You mean strong females. Most ants are males, and then the queens are the ones that.
No, all
No,
of them
most
ants are infertile females. There's only a couple of males, and they do a mating flight, and then all the males die. And so every egg that the queen lays is a female until it's time to lay more babies for the mating flight and pass on her genetics.
Your
Okay.
gender
You don't
is
even
not that
know?
useful in that many species.
Yeah.
You're just a pretty face.
Yeah, I like you, Ari. I like you.
I'll have you
just
know,
kidding. I love you.
male ants are very important because there wouldn't be ants without them. I don't know.
Hey, life finds a way. Life finds a way.
Yeah, it turns them into
clownfish.
males.
Like
That's what Jurassic
clownfish?
Park did.
Okay, but clownfish all want to be female. They're male until they're dominant in their social chain, and then they get to be the mom.
Yeah, well.
So, yeah. No females?
Next on
Become one.
Discovery Channel.
Next on Discovery Channel. Anyway, Ant-Man
This is
and
more
the Wasp.
Animal Planet, but sure.
Man, I got Discovery Plus really quick breaking away, and I've been watching Ghost Adventures. That man is unhinged, and I like it so much. Zach, whatever his last name is. I like saw jokes about him and stuff, but watching the actual show, like straight up season 1, this man's yelling at ghosts. He's hanging nooses. He's being
Do you
like,
guys
"Fuck
believe in
you, ghosts!
ghosts?
I hate you."
I mean, I believe in spirits, not necessarily ghosts.
I believe in ghosts. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I believe in ghosts, and sometimes I'm like, no, that's not existing because I'm scared.
I think it's a possibility, but I'm also not like really threatened by the idea, as you can see by a Ouija board literally hanging on the wall behind me.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah, so I'm not really concerned with it, but I have a belief of it.
See, I fuck with ghosts. I do not fuck with demons. Like
Speaking-
anything like that, like I will not chance it.
Speaking of ghosts, I just one of the trailers for this movie was the Boogeyman, and I was like, how dare you make it hard for parents tonight? Their kids are gonna have nightmares off of this trailer. Now these parents have to like
gotta
literally
watch it.
check every
It's a
closet and under
thing.
these kids' beds now.
You mean one of the 30 minutes of trailers in front of the movie? They really said, this is a
so
Marvel
many
movie. We're
trailers.
going to put as much trailers in there as possible.
But I just I think a lot of the characterization needed work on this movie for like the returning cast.
Yeah.
I mean, technically Cassie's not, like, Catherine Newton is new to the game, but still, like, Cassie's a character we've grown up with, kind of, in the Ant-Man movies, and all of them feel very underdeveloped, or like they didn't really have a lot to their story. And I almost wonder if maybe there would have been more time if we didn't have Hank and Janet. Like, if Hank and Janet were maybe in the movie, but they didn't come along for the adventure. It was just Scott, Hope, and Cassie down in the quantum realm, and then maybe Janet or Hank are trying to get them out from the other end.
But then the ants wouldn't have saved them.
No, because Scott still, like, can have the little ant thing. They just don't because they have both.
The ants are the ones that got Kang. Okay? Nobody else could do it, and then the ants...
Which, again, that's what I mean by, like...
That was also very Deus Ex Machina. Oh, yeah, these ants just lived thousands of years and became ultra civilized and then came back to save y'all asses.
Well, even more than that, Kang, like, there's a scene where Kang shoots a blast that literally eradicates everything around him, almost like a nuclear bomb. Yeah, and he never uses that move at any point during this fight, nor to just squash the ants. And I'm like, why would you not? In fact, I would use that move every time there's a revolution. Just... because I don't care about my own soldiers. Screw them. I'm Kang, goddammit. Hey-ya! And then just burn everybody.
I think that's where I was like, the introduction to Kang was cool. Like, that's cool. You have some awesome power. Then you fight against Ant-Man and his little army of ants, and suddenly you can't do shit. Where did that power go? Why are you suddenly worse than Thanos?
You
yeah.
need a nap.
That's why I was like, this movie, I wish this wasn't an Ant-Man movie. Not because Ant-Man's not a cool character or I don't want to see more Ant-Man, but because I'm like, if you're going to, like, there's a reason Kang's introduction, both in the comics and even in the cartoons, is always him fighting the Avengers. Because he's that level of a threat. He has technology from, like, the 40th century.
You need more than just one.
Right, you shouldn't it shouldn't take just Ant-Man to take him down. And the fact that Ant-Man did take him down kind of makes it so that next time we see Kang...
like, he's weak.
Like, we're going to be like, I mean, are you really that big of a threat? Ant-Man stopped you. If Ant-Man can stop you, like, all these people should be able to stop you. And especially because they try to set him up to be a badass, because when Ant-Man's like, I'm an Avenger, and Kang's response is, wait, are you the one with the hammer? I've killed so many of you. Like, I'm like, oh, shit. Like, they're already establishing, like, Kang is not to be messed with. He's killed Avengers, including Thor, who's a god.
And also, like, this Kang in particular was exiled by the other Kangs because he was so much of a threat. And then he gets punched a bunch and is dead. Yeah. Well, I guess he gets thrown into the fucking abyss core.
The core.
It would have been better if they were like, this is the weakest of us. Because if you watch Loki, which is one of the post-credit scenes, Loki, Kang's in one of those, and he gets killed by the female version of Loki, I believe. And he's like, you can kill me, and then, like, a whole bunch of me is gonna come.
Mm-hmm.
And this would have been, like, a good way to be like, oh, yeah, that Kang wasn't the strongest or anything. Well, if that's your strongest Kang, a whole council of you was really scary. And the whole, I didn't find that post-credit scene where they're all together in that, like, a weird arena. Mm-hmm. And showing all the multitude of different
Council
things.
of Kangs. I
did not find that threatening. I found it so funny for some reason.
It was goofy because they have
goofy.
Kang come in, like, I hate to say it, it's because he's a black man, but I have to be honest. I was like, stop, like, you monkeys, sit down and calm down, because they're coming in. Woo, woo, ah! I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? Like, calm it down.
I didn't know why the fuck they were just screaming.
Like, chill out.
He didn't make any speech or anything. They were just
happy to be there.
They were hyped. They were ready to go.
They said something's going down.
They're like, let's do this.
Happy to be here.
Somebody had their pre-workout.
Everyone had their pre-workout. Everyone did.
They were all sipping the whey and the protein, and they were just like, let's go. They're throwing it back.
Like, Jesus, yeah.
I did appreciate in that post-credit scene, though, the reference to all the versions of Kang, because Kang's been multiple versions. There's multiple versions of him in the comics. He's been a pharaoh called Ramatut. He's been another villain called the Scarlet Centurion, Imperius or whatever. There's one version that I'm hoping we see later down the line where he was a hero called Iron Lad, where he's when he's like a boy and he's like a teenager and he joins the Young Avengers as Iron Lad. So I liked that there was a few of those versions of him. In fact, the version of him that's like blue with the big like hat and the mustache and stuff, that's I think his name's Imperius, who is supposed to be the strongest version of Kang. But I'm not sure. We'll see. I mean, I don't know what they're doing at this point, because I thought for sure this version of Kang, Because like even in the comics, even though you see the Council of Kangs, there's only one version of Kang who is technically like the Kang the Conqueror, like the big bad that we keep frequently seeing. And I thought that was good.
Himself that.
Well, that's what I was hoping we were gonna see. Like, well, his real name is Nathaniel Richards, but Kang the Conqueror.
I didn't need to know that. That's like Nathaniel. That's the least threatening name ever.
Hey, that's my middle name.
Thank you for proving my point. Nathaniel's like the least threatening name to have for a super.
That's why he became Kang the Conqueror. All right, he's like, I need to establish myself.
Trying to find I am Kang. No, Nathaniel, get down from there.
Nathaniel, stop screaming.
Well, I'm curious how this is going to go because Nathaniel Richards is the descendant of Reed Richards, who's Mr. Fantastic. And they're planning on doing a Fantastic Four movie. So that's going to be really interesting to see if they play on that when they do Fantastic Four, if Kang is like... In fact, Kang often fights the Fantastic Four. That's normally... If it's not the Avengers, it's them. So... it's interesting.
He just knows he can't fight Granddad. All right, he's like,
yeah. Well, he can't kill him. That's true.
He
can't. I was like, I can't kill you, but I can make your life hell.
We're gonna stretch.
But I do wish they had done more with Kang, and I thought then kept this Kang around as the main version of Kang.
Be dead is what they were alluding.
I guess that's true because it's like if he like
he just be more trapped.
Well, the rule of movies, if you didn't see it, like if you don't see a body, there's no guarantee he's dead. For all we know, the core may. I mean, heck, I thought Darren was dead after Ant-Man 1, and apparently that wasn't true. He just was down in the quantum realm.
He just got George Lopez.
He's like, I've been here.
Yeah, so for all we know, he might have been. I thought that's what they were gonna do. Funny enough, is when he gets knocked into the core and then he gets like shrunk in there, and then Hope and Ant-Man. Because I was like, the ending has multiple ways they could have made it out. Like when Hope showed up, I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're not doing the thing where they're stuck together. And then when Kang gets knocked into the core and he gets sucked in, and then Hope and Ant-Man are standing there and the portal opens behind them, I thought that was going to be Kang as soon as they went through the other side. And he was going to be like, yeah, I like it. So the core actually just sent me to another time period, and I got out and I just waited, and I knew you guys would be here. So I'm here to get my revenge.
Let's kick some more ass.
And he's just going to beat their ass. And then it just be like, and then Kang's like, Kang! And then just flies off with his technology or something.
Well, he has his own fanfare at the end anyway.
The second that the portal opened behind them, I was like, I thought they were going to get trapped. Like that would have been more satisfying if it was like a struggle to get them back out, other than what was the daughter's name again? Cassie just opens a fun little portal and then everything is fine.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like that would have been a great like moment of sacrifice where he's like, the portal is not stable, and he's like, well, you two go, and like I still have to keep it stable or open by staying in here or something. Like some great sacrifice, and we were given none of that in that film.
Well, it's just if the movie had stakes.
Yeah.
This movie has no real like major stakes to it, and it's because every time there could be stakes, the movie is just like, oh, like it's almost like the studio's like, oh, it's still a Marvel movie. Oh, we can't have that.
Cheddar.
Hey, Cheddar.
Do the handsome boy. Yes.
Yeah, no, you're right. The movie has like no stakes at all. They're not. You have like a brief moment where you're like, okay, he may die. And, like, that's the threat, and that's it. And then everything else is, like, he'll survive.
I could hear the thwomp of you just grabbing his face. But also, I noticed, like, well, I guess it also would have been satisfying if Ant-Man got stuck there. Because then the whole thing of Cassie being like, you need to help more. You need to be more active in helping people. Like, he could have helped them rebuild. And then been like, I'm helping by helping this teeny tiny micro society rebuild after being like utterly destroyed.
See, that's interesting because I thought of it the other way. That it's like, because I do appreciate that Cassie does admit that it's because I was like, because when she's giving Ant-Man all this shit because he's like, you don't do anything. Me and Grandpa have been working in the quantum realm, and then all this happens, and then she like, I'm glad that she acknowledges like, it's my fault. I'm sorry. It's like, yeah, You see what happens when you start meddling in the Marvel Universe without any regard for like the repercussions of what could happen?
Also, yeah, like, doesn't she's so into like wanting to help people, but then also like she knows that, well, it's not her grandma, but like this woman came out and was like completely traumatized to the point that she wasn't even talking about her time there. And she's like, yeah, let me just send signals down into this place that we know nothing about, because nobody will tell us anything about it. And like, not like this is gonna have any repercussions on anybody else, because she doesn't know what the fuck she was messing with.
More than that,
she could have like ruined the entire world.
Neither of them do. And there was no reason for them to map out the quantum realm.
right?
The grandmother was literally like, leave it the fuck alone. Let's go eat dinner. And then the grandpa and her are like, well, now we have to see what's down there.
We like to play with science.
Well, especially because when like the revolutionaries are getting captured, she's like, we have to help, and he's like, and I wanted Scott so bad to be like, we know nothing about this world. What part of that do you not understand? We don't even know how their weapons work. For all you know, you could try and punch them and then disintegrate. Like, we need more information first before we can even begin to help them. But then again, it's like, that's what I mean by like, they make everything like space. Because it's like, none of that is, if it were me writing it, that's what I would do to help this differentiate itself, where it's like, it's not as easy as just, you just punch somebody. It's like, what if everyone down here is made of goo? Like, the second you punch them, you just like your hand just sinks in, and you're like, oh shoot, well, never mind.
It's straight up like old school sci-fi feel to it. How like you watch old sci-fi movies and shows, they still wind up on a planet that has the perfect oxygen and gravity level for them to, meet all these crazy. That's this vibe where it's like, okay, we don't know. Yeah,
there's 100 other
into this whole realm.
Just die.
Yeah, it's like they're floating somewhere off in some other realm. So it's got that like old school sci-fi feel where it's like, oh, the gravity, the air quality, everything just matches perfectly for humans to survive.
I feel like they should have leaned more into like the microbiology aspect of things, because they had like some things that were very reminiscent, like when the sun tried to eat them, that felt very like single-celled organism like coming to get you. And I feel like they should have leaned more into that to take it away from like space western.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people are comparing this to Star Wars, because they're like,
I felt very Star Warsy. I was getting those vibes the whole time. But also I was really sad when they didn't. I thought they were going to show a water bear. You know, the teeny tiny little, I can't remember what they're called.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
What is the name of
those like
them?
organisms that look like...
It starts with a T.
Well, funny enough, they had something similar to that in the second movie, when Hank was in the quantum realm the first time.
What's the scientific name for water bear?
But they're like these like puffy...
tardigrades. Do you know what a tardigrade is?
I do not. Really cute. I'm not good in science.
Oh, well, basically they're called water bears because they've got these fat little legs and their weird little suction mouth, but they're the hardiest little fucking creatures you've ever done meet. They can survive in space for a little bit, like in complete vacuum, like almost, super cold. Not for very long, but like they can live and then come back and then just bounce back. But I was expecting to see one of those.
Well, they were in Ant-Man and the Wasp, the first one, when Hank goes to the quantum realm. That's why when he gets there in this movie, he's like, I've been here, and I did not see any of this. Where is this bit?
I guess they went deeper.
So they went deeper, technically a deeper level than that.
Okay, well, I haven't seen it.
But what's funny is I'm like, I prefer the quantum realm in the second movie than in this movie. Because at least then in the second movie, it's different. It's unique. It's
almost like a barren wasteland.
And also,
it feels like a place you could get trapped. Because a lot of people, they were like, that's why a lot of people were like, why does Michelle Pfeiffer have like makeup and stuff when they find her in the second movie? It looks like there's nothing down here. But then in this movie, it's like, oh no, there's like a whole civilization down here. You know what I mean? They got shops, stores, bars.
Shouldn't have that like bad of like, I don't want to talk about it. There's a whole civilization down there. There's a whole world. You have friends and family. You get hunted in these movies all the time. Can't also let it affect you as much.
I feel like if she gave something to Bill Murray, there's no way she didn't give something to Kang, right? Like,
no, I definitely felt the vibes of like They were working on that core for a while.
You know what I mean?
Something
I'm just
there.
saying, it's like if Bill Murray is like the bottom, like, you know, like a pretty solid bar. Jonathan Majors is like all muscled up, like handsome black dude. Like, there's no way.
He's a handsome man, okay? Maybe one of the versions, he's a nice guy. Like an actual nice guy.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, he was pretty smooth before she found out he was evil. Like, he was
That's
like,
true.
he was a pretty like,
You
hey,
know,
listen,
like,
Janet.
was it tap dancing at the end? Or the guy, he was some sort of like
Yeah, where he's like,
entertainer.
like
He's probably a nice man, Nathaniel.
well, I just feel like he's got some moves. He's like, listen, Janet, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're trying to get back to your daughter, but girl, come on now, you know what it is. Like, like, you know what I mean? He's just whispering that to her ear like that.
There's two of you now.
That's why we click so well.
She had like a whole like life and relationship and like stuff down there, and then when she comes back up, were you just hiding your like relationship and your whole life down there, and then it becomes less like sad where she was just trapped and hunted. Now she was like, you had a second family down there, didn't you? Do you have children down there?
I named
it's like been like 30
Hope.
years. Yeah, there's like 30
Now
children.
That would have been an interesting twist if Bill Murray wasn't her lover, but rather like her child or something, who's aged up because he's been stuck in the quantum realm. But for her, it's like
Her and Kang had a baby. And
Well,
it was Bill Murray.
maybe not that, but
And it was Bill Murray.
no. You see how dark skinned he is? There is no way Bill Murray is gonna be his
Well,
child.
she's quite
He has
right.
to-
I mean, genetics
Okay,
are
but
interesting.
Genetics down in the quantum realm, okay?
Neither of them are from the quantum realm.
It messes with your
Yeah,
DNA
yeah.
on a molecular level.
Every baby comes out white, don't you know? White, or they're literally a sentient being.
How do you explain
Well, in all
the
fairness-
like revolutionary leader lady then, who's definitely brown skinned?
I mean, there is no sunlight or need for melanin down there, so.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. I'm like, y'all have sunlight down here? How the hell is that possible?
There's just a whole lot of things that just didn't make sense about this.
Or
But
if
they
you wanted to
didn't
say
even
they
try to
have
make
like a
sense
night
about it.
cycle because it's like, oh, it's such a molecular level, like there's lights in the real world. It's like, okay, but then there shouldn't be a day-night cycle.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Asgard in the way that, like,
Yeah.
Asgard, was supposed to be this whole new realm and world and, you know, level, a different world than ours. But really, it's just a different planet.
Right.
It's not actually on a whole new godly level or unearthly level. It's just a planet that you can probably take a ship to. I mean, it'd take a while to get there, but you could fly a ship to it. That's what this felt like, too. Where I was like, okay, you're supposed to be a whole new realm and world, but I feel like I could probably take a few light years to get to you. And that's what this was just giving me, was like, oh, it's no longer this cool new realm. It's just, all right, this is another probably planet. They'll find out is actually you can get to it on the Rainbow Bridge.
It feels like they made this world so that they can make it easier for them to turn it into a Disney theme park at Disneyland. Like, that's how it feels to me. Is I'm like,
Yeah,
it's like if
They
it's
didn't do
too
it with
creative,
Asgard.
they're like,
They took
It'll
Guardians
be
of the Galaxy.
indiscernible. It'll be indiscernible from Star Wars Land, though. See, they should have made it more different. More profit. They should have really got creative with the
They could have
colors.
just, I mean, if they ever want to rebrand Star Wars Land, they can just slather some bright colored paint on it. There you go.
in this quantum
Quantum
realm
realm.
now.
Yeah. Just add some more red and blues.
Here's a question. Do either of you want to see another version of Kang, or would you prefer if this Kang came back? Because that's what a lot of people are theorizing too, is that maybe the way they're going to do Kang based off of the way this movie happens is that there's going to be, every time we see Kang, it'll be a new version of him, not the same person, and we just know there's other Kangs out there.
Well, this one was weak. He didn't feel, they made him out like everyone was so afraid of him, but then when it really came down to it, he didn't really feel like a threat.
Well, I think it's that he felt like a threat. It's just that the movie had to make him less of a threat,
Like they gave
so that Ant-Man could win.
They gave him too much plot armor. But the thing is, like, if Ant-Man can take him down, like, he didn't feel like a serious threat. I'm like, oh, Ant-Man is gonna take this on, no problem. So maybe, I don't know, I feel like it would be fun to see other versions, but also I don't think I'd be upset if we brought this version back. But then I feel like if they brought this version back, we're going to have to see Janet a lot more because their stories are very intertwined. And I'm not sure if I really like her character. So I guess new versions because I don't like Janet.
I think the only way I would be comfortable or like okay seeing this version of Kang again was if he somehow was able to absorb the strength and power of the other kings to make himself the ultimate one. You know what I mean? Like an amoeba.
The amoebas, yeah.
Yeah.
Just osmosis.
Just absorbing them all. Because it's like, yeah, no, this one felt really weak, and I get it's because they had to have Ant-Man be the hero in the end and him survive. But, like, it would have had a better explanation had they shown, like, a device that, like, drained his power so he wasn't as strong, or, like, things weakened because he was in this quantum realm and he couldn't recharge his, you know, his weapons or things like that. Some explanation to why he seemed to be weakened getting weaker throughout the movie.
Well, he only gets he gets weak because the ants, as they carry him away, they damaged all of his tech. So by the time he fights Ant-Man at the end, he doesn't have any tech to use.
You could see that like his like arm bracer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but like in that part that's explained, but yeah, but then it like in that moment he gets weaker, but
no, they just glow with the helmet. Like he's like, no, Kang is just a normal person. It's just he's so powerful because he has tech from he's super smart, but his tech is from like the 40th century. And then he's from the 40th century, and then when he discovers time travel, he goes even further than that, takes the tech from like the 50th century, and then comes back to like, you know, the 20th century and starts and he has that tech is so advanced. It's damn near like he's magical, because it's just like it's ununderstandable by like the 20th century knowledge.
I would like to make a biology joke real fast. At the end of the movie, your boy Kang went through apoptosis. For all you biology fans out there, you know what I'm saying.
I am sure all of them found it hilarious.
Yep, they're just laughing right now. Can't you hear them?
You can feel the energy through the quantum realms.
I would like to see this version of Kang, just because it would make it easier to keep track of. Because if every time we do a movie with Kang, we get a new version of Kang, it'll take all the stakes out of it. Like there's a reason it was like people got invested in Thanos. It's because there's only one Thanos. So it's easy to be like, this is the character, and we get to see them grow. It's why the MCU's work so well, because we've seen one character grow along all this time, all these movies. If we keep getting a new version of Kang and we have to keep reintroducing him to people, because they're not going to do, I don't, based off of the counts of the Kangs, they're not going to be the same person.
Yeah.
Well, because they're not going to be the same person. Like, Kang won't be the same guy. I feel like Jonathan Majors will play him differently. We've already seen two versions already, and they're two completely different characters.
But also you were saying, like, earlier, I guess we were saying, like, oh, we want something fresh and new. Maybe the fact that if it's a different Kang every single time, it'll make the fights feel more feudal, which adds to the power of, even if you kill this version, there's infinite versions of him that are ready to fuck your shit up.
Yeah, it's like
that's
never
true.
Ending. Yeah,
and then that'll be a different problem of, we're not trying to just kill a man, we're trying to stem the flow of this infinite versions of him, and so they'll probably have to go to the source or something like that, and like, I don't know, you know, baby Hitler murder him. You know, or something like that. Yeah, but like they'll have to go back to like, you know, something like that. I feel, and that's a different plot point than what we've seen before. They could just kill the Fantastic, but the thing is, Fantastic Four guy, is he like, if there's so many different versions, like you can't kill every single version. There has to be
that's like, the same for like,
they're gonna have to find like the OG.
Wipe out the whole bloodline. Sometimes it's better safe than sorry.
You can't wipe out every single bloodline.
Well, she's saying like because of the multiverse, there are other Reed Richards in the multiverse, so Kang will still technically always exist.
So I feel like they're gonna have to figure out a way to work with every single multiversal version of themselves to get rid of Kang.
Well, that's probably what Secret Wars is gonna be.
That kind of did that in the Strange Doctor Strange movie. And it turns out they just tried to kill Doctor Strange. They're like, yeah, but we're just gonna kill you. No, I'm telling you, a threat's coming. No, we're gonna murder you instead. Like that's not helping anybody. Quit murdering.
Well,
people.
that's because I know where this is all leading because I know what Secret Wars is because I read the book. But it's just, I think that is the plan. Because Secret Wars, much like how DC has Flashpoint as their big reset button, Secret Wars, if anything, is probably going to be Marvel's. Like, it's their big, like, multiversal, like, mega event thing. And it was, in fact, what rebooted the Marvel universe, like the comics. So I assume that is what they will use it for, and that way they can finally be like, all right, we're recasting Iron Man, we're recasting Captain America, like this is a new universe, new characters, we can do new actors, but all the movies you love, those still happened, but now starting fresh.
But they've already like explained phase like
how much more
5
can
and
they wring out of this.
They can do so much more.
Oh, listen, if they can reboot the universe, it's like we can do it all over again, baby. Now with new actors. This is all the stuff you love.
Renew that again. Copyright.
They're gonna ride this till the brakes come off.
Sure. Sorry, 1 second. Don't play with my bones.
Funny enough, though, I did think when they were like talking about, because like when Janet mentions like, oh, he was exiled here, I was like, ooh, that'd be an interesting Loki tie in, that he was exiled maybe by Sylvie from Loki. But then when they reveal it's the Council of Kangs, I was like, oh, that seems a bit early.
Well, I mean,
already revealing the Council of Kangs?
Council of Kangs is just an arena.
Everyone could have watched Loki.
I guess that's true. But
and it comes in order of the timeline before this. So if you're watching it in timeline order, then the Council of Kings is not a new thing.
My problem with...
Because they're not in Loki at all.
Well, they show Loki at the end, at the end, actually.
But it's
so
like
kind
no,
insinuated.
I mean in Loki, the Council of Kangs, you don't see them
but
yet.
But it's like really heavily insinuated.
It is insinuated that there are more Kangs. But I just feel like the Council of Kangs is like, because that's a whole can of worms. Because it's like, then because you're already kind of showing your hand of how many because it's like one thing to talk about how many, it's another thing to see it. Because once you see it, you're like, oh shoot, there's like thousands of them.
I think it would have
probably
been
millions.
Just more threatening, I suppose, if they had like the worst Kangs for the Council of Kangs. Not every single one of them, but like just like maybe like a solid like 10 circular, going on round table style would have been more threatening. And then they're like, oh, we need to involve more, and them like spreading out to show maybe how many more. But like this just felt like the whole like you're getting 150 people's votes, but they're all the same person, so it doesn't really matter. Do we really need this council? Really just feels like we're all just hanging out on Friday because everybody's voting yes.
But it's also, I think the reason that they have the council was because they were killing each other. And so that's like their own truce, was to have the council so that they stop like murdering each other so that they can be,
Yeah, and it is supposed to be hypothetically, as far as I know because I don't know much about Kang in the comics, outside of like the little bit of stuff that's like happened in comics I have read. But Kang, as far as I know, the Council of Kangs, much like the Citadel of Ricks in Rick and Morty, it's supposed to be like.
I was thinking that,
That's where that idea comes from. The Citadel of Ricks is based off of the Council of Kangs.
Yeah, but even in the Citadel of Ricks, they had a specific like 10 councilmen doing everything, and then the other like Ricks and Kangs could go about their life. They didn't need to be
those
in the
three
arena.
that we saw. I guess are supposed to be like the actual like Council of Kangs, because the shot they use where you see all of them in the arena, that's in the comics, but those are just extra Kangs. They are not all the council. The council is like maybe 4 or 5 actual Kang the Conquerors. In this
with fancy hair.
Now granted, in the comics it's like all of them are Kang the Conqueror from different like time periods. In here they make it the other versions of Kang, I guess, are the Council of Kangs, but none of them are named that. It's like the Scarlet Centurion, Ramatut, and I think it's actually I think it is Imperius. If I'm wrong, forget all y'all Kang fans out there. Y'all don't exist. Anyway, they're like, it's like those are that's the council, I guess, is his other versions throughout history, which is interesting. So technically the council is like a very small amount. It's just they called all the Kangs together to, I guess, be like, y'all, look here, we gonna tear down the whole timeline. We're destroying everything. The multiverse is done.
But like you said, they kind of showed their hand a little bit early with all the Kangs. That's what I'm saying. It would have been more threatening had you seen maybe like maybe like 10 of them being like, oh, that's still a lot. Okay, that's crazy. They're all coming for you. And then like eventually revealed that there is such a large quantity like that.
You cannot kill all the Kangs.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean by like this movie wants to be mega epic, but then it doesn't do the stuff to like make it all pay off.
Yeah.
To be epic.
It oscillates between being like satirical, like comedic, and then being like serious. But I feel like it oscillates enough that they kind of like cancel each other out almost.
Well, especially because
like it's too comedic to be serious, but it's too serious to be like a funny movie.
Well, especially because like MODOK feels like the villain of an Ant-Man movie. He's silly, he's goofy. It works. Kang doesn't, because Kang is not.
It was like two different plot lines.
He's not messing around. He does not joke around. He doesn't have any quips. Like he is like, I am dead serious. I will kill you. I will kill everybody in this room, and I am not
your daughter
right. And I'm not bullshitting. Matter of fact, like because when he threatens Cassie, and Ant-Man is just like Ant-Man's begging for his life, and he's continuing to hurt Cassie because he's like, I want to make it crystal clear, I will kill her.
And not only I will kill her until you want to die. Like, I'll kill her so many times.
Right. Yeah. Like, I will keep racing time, so you just watch her die over and over again until I'm satisfied. And even then, after I'm not satisfied, I'm still going to let it happen. Just to prove a point.
Yeah.
Like...
That was messed up.
I'm good. That's why I'm like, I like this version of Kang, and I was hoping this version of Kang was going to last.
Apoptosis.
Well, because I'm like, we don't... Like, the only other villain we've ever had like that in the MCU has honestly been Thanos, because all the other villains be messing around. Like they either got jokes or they are the joke. Like the only ones that have
Ultron was kind of like a serious one,
but even he had quips because he was based off Iron Man's like personality, so he would joke around.
I get child of Iron Man and the Hulk, Bruce Banner.
Yeah, because you have like the only serious villains we've gotten so far in the MCU is Kang, Thanos, Killmonger. And I guess Namor, to a degree, because like Namor, he told a few jokes here and there, but Namor also was like, I ain't bullshitting. When I say I'm gonna do something, damn it, I'm gonna do it.
Which one's Namor?
From Wakanda Forever, the from Black Panther.
What about the Red Nazi from Captain America?
Yeah. Oh, I guess Red Skull too.
Oh, it is actually Red Skull.
Counts.
Creative, yeah. Marvel, creative. Great A right in there.
To be fair, that character was made in the 60s, so there wasn't a lot of like...
Doesn't excuse them.
Doing crazy names. There's a whole character named Wonder Man who's supposed to come into the movie soon. Played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who plays Black Manta and Aquaman. We're getting more big buff black dudes to be in the MCU.
Yes, we know that's your favorite.
I'd love to see it.
The one character I think we should end up talking about before we head out is Scott Lang, is Paul Rudd's character. I said before, I really like Paul Rudd. I really liked him in this movie. I think he did a really good job. And honestly, if you watch it as a Paul Rudd movie, it's even more enjoyable because like Paul Rudd's just really good at what he does, and he is able to slip between like serious acting to comedic acting really well without it looking too choppy. I think the scenes he was given were choppy, but his acting was like good, like smooth. So I was like, so that's what I was thinking. I was like, if I watch this, I'm like, oh, a Paul Rudd movie. I'm like, yeah, totally. I love it, and I would, hype it up. But as an Ant-Man movie, no.
As a Marvel movie,
especially as a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it feels like. I don't know how much real estate they're going to have trying to make more Ant-Man movies after Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I'm like, and after he does what he does in Endgame and Infinity War, I'm like, and we're done. I feel like Ant-Man could just exist in the universe now. Like
he wanted to.
That's
Well,
what
because-
he was trying to do.
Like,
yeah,
until
that's
his
true.
daughter went and fucked shit up. That's what he was doing. He was just living his life.
Well, because I'm just like, I feel like there's like Ant-Man, at least Scott Lang Ant-Man, because Hank Pym Ant-Man has a very crazy history. I'm glad MCU Hank Pym is the way he is, because comic book Hank Pym is a madman and an abuser at times, sometimes
Jesus.
a straight up villain. So I'm like, this Hank Pym, nice guy, old man, just likes to save money on pizza. I dig it.
And he likes ants.
And he likes ants. He's all about the ants. But it's like with Scott Lang's character in the comics is very like one note. He's like, I'm a retired thief who has the Ant-Man suit. That's pretty much my thing. It's what I do. And so I'm like, I feel like you could only get 2 movies out of that. Like, and this is proof positive. I mean, granted, you could do whatever you want if you write it right. But I thought Paul Rudd, though, in this movie as Scott Lang he was good. He's doing he always is good, because he's more or less just Paul Rudd as a superhero. Because Paul Rudd just has a lovable personality. He's just a good dude.
He really does.
And so that bleeds into the character and makes Scott Lang a person you're just like, man, you're just a lovable dude. Like, I like Ant-Man.
It's also that he doesn't have like
a
this
nice guy.
dramatic turmoil hanging over his head all the time.
Yeah, like every other character.
Yeah,
does.
he's like, I can't do it because of this. And like Ant-Man or Scott Lang is just like, sure, why not? Let's go do it. Let's have some fun.
Everyone else needs
Yeah.
extensive therapy.
Yeah, they're all like, I must do
he's
this
just-
because I was betrayed by my loved one. He's like, nope, no, an old man gave me a suit, and, I kind of wanted to see what happened. And there was an ant I called Anthony, and I loved him, and that's my brother. Yeah, Anthony, that's his brother. What are you fucking doing down there?
I love Hank's inclusions though all the time when he goes on about his ants and he just nerds out, because he's just like, when Cassie's in jail, he's like, I would have broke you out, but with ants. I'm like, yeah, you would, Hank. Look at you, Grandpa. It's just like that grandpa who's just like, he's not a part of the conversation, but he wants to let his presence be known. He'll just chime into your conversation with just a comment where you're just like, all right, Grandpa.
He's like, I wouldn't
Sure.
have done bail money. We would have just gotten you out using ants, of course.
He's
Like,
like,
this
"Ants."
isn't helping the conversation.
The more I think about the pizza thing, the more I'm like, how does Pym particle technology work? Because the way that the pizza grew, it looked like a regular sized pizza. It didn't look like a small pizza.
No,
that
it was
stretched.
It was a small pizza.
I know, but it didn't look like a small pizza that got stretched. It just looked like
Oh,
a
it doesn't.
regular-sized
No, it
pizza.
doesn't stretch stuff. It enlarges it. It increases all the atoms of
So
an
it
item.
gives it more atoms?
No.
Or it just increases the size of the atoms?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. Does it increase the size of the molecules? Or is it adding more molecules?
One could
That's what I
assume
don't
that it just
understand.
multiplies the molecules so that
But
you
then
can
it's
get
like,
bigger.
is it just creating energy? Because
Yeah,
that's
technically
impossible.
that's
Or
against
is it like borrowing energy from somewhere else?
that's against like the
Because,
laws
like-
of physics. You can't create energy.
I mean,
You
listen.
can't-
All right. All we
So it
know
would
is
just
Pym
be a
particles
mag-
makes things
I like
big or
science.
small.
So
I
it,
like
it would be if anything a magnification of it, but it would cause it to be, I feel like, a lot less
But then I feel like
lighter
that's not
than one
safe
would
to
think.
eat.
It's not. It's unstable, but it also would cause it to be a lot lighter than one would assume, because it has the same molecular structure as it once did. Creates it unstable, makes it unstable. Then it also makes it lighter. There's probably less taste because there's no extra flavoring, and so what you're spreading is like pretty much what is a 1% stretched
You're
out.
just adding more air into it then, I guess?
Kind of in a way.
between- But then it's like...
It's
He's making a healthier pizza.
So...
There is a Mexican
Just eating air.
a healthy Mexican restaurant by me. It's called Gorditos, which just means
I
fat.
love Gorditos!
It's awful.
Oh my gosh, I
Over
love
here?
them.
Oh my god,
Uh-huh.
man!
I used to
I
go
don't.
there
I don't
like
believe.
every weekend
I
with my
do not
uncle.
believe you're a real Mexican now.
I
All they
love
do is
Gorditos.
they just don't add seasoning.
Okay, but the thing is, I love it because I love the black beans and the rice, and then we literally go every weekend because I'm vegan and he's vegetarian, or he was vegetarian, And so we would just get beans and rice to go with chips and then eat it like a salsa mix. I mean,
Okay,
we
well
eat
then that's
else.
like fine, but like everything else on the
beans
menu
and rice
is
and-
beans and rice.
Okay, I haven't had anything else on the menu, so.
It's literally just no seasoning. That's how they make healthy Mexican food. No seasoning. It's awful.
I mean, I liked it.
I
It was a
just-
sneaky
You like
snack,
beans and rice.
Nostalgic.
Here's the thing.
I like beans and rice.
You like beans and rice.
And salsa. Okay, we would put their salsa on there. It was pretty good.
What were you gonna say,
Hanging out.
Jerome?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say you can't go by off the science of comic book stuff because the science was already broken from the beginning of the first movie. Remember how they have a whole discussion where he's like, "Yeah, Scott, you're shrinking yourself, but you still have the same amount of density and structure, which is how he can punch as the size of an ant." But it's like, yeah, but that rule only applies when you want it to. Because Cassie shrinks a whole cop car in this movie, and that cop car does not weigh the same as much as an actual car.
Or the thing is, like, when he's big, he hits harder when he shouldn't be able to hit harder.
Or
should
he's
be
able
hitting
to hold up
softer.
things too. Yeah, he shouldn't have
So
that
the thing
strength.
is, the science doesn't work.
The science never works. The science doesn't work in Iron Man either. The man literally has tons of missiles and bullets inside of a very close quarters man-sized suit that looks like a man.
True, it would get way too hot. There's no way that there's technology that can cool that fast enough to, like, it's like firing a gun next to your hand. Like, you're gonna get burnt. There's no way he's
At least
gonna-
not without proper insulation.
Well, I don't know how he's gonna fucking insulate it that close to his skin.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't go by science. This is a world where if you get hit with a gamma bomb, instead of just dying like everything would, you turn into a rage-filled monster. But only when you're angry. No other time. Not when you're aroused
you
or
may
just
not
happy or
necessarily
nothing.
die with you most likely will get cancer though.
He doesn't get that either.
But the thing is that
he's
the
just perfectly
vast-
fine.
The vast majority of people in this universe do get cancer and die, or just die. Okay, the people who become heroes, it seems like they were probably already predisposed in their genetics to be heroes when exposed to something, you know? But also, like, did you know that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are in the same universe as the MCU?
Oh, I lost my
Oh,
boat.
they're not.
Yeah, they are.
How?
Because I'm pretty sure who delivers pizzas. Someone, basically one of the characters delivers pizzas to a manhole cover, and they talk about it. Like, you know, Daredevil.
Yeah.
Daredevil, the same thing that blinded him and gave him his powers is what made the Turtles.
I mean, it's a parody of it, but yeah, because the Turtles are based off of Daredevil.
Exactly, but I'm saying that they've made it so that they're in the same universe. So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles do exist. They're just not talked about because, you know, they're fucking turtles.
But I just this movie, I feel like it's just a lot of squandered potential. I feel like if they were going to introduce Kang,
Fun.
they should introduce Kang in like another Avengers movie, and then have the Avengers lose because they suck. Because Iron Man and Captain America and Hulk, like the Avengers, are not there. It's just a B Avengers team, and they just like get their ass kicked, and they're like, "We got to tell everybody about this Kang dude, man. He's like bad news. He beat all of us. And all of our heavy hitters are gone, like except Strange and technically Hulk's around, but he's not the Hulk we know." You know, I mean, he's Smart
He's
Hulk
half
now.
Hulk.
Yeah, like he's not
think-
like Rage Monster Hulk.
We got kind of this glimpse in Loki, but even that version of Kang died. So it wasn't that much of a threat either. So there's been multiple now versions of Kang dying.
He's just smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need a version of Kang, and one person said it in a review I watched that I was like, that's actually a pretty good idea. Is they were like, why didn't they just do a Kang movie, just showing Kang like rise in power, and
I feel
become
like they should
like
have shown his backstory.
yeah, like show his backstory, show him become powerful, and then like how powerful he is, and then at the end of the movie, like they did in this movie, Kang will return, and it's just like, okay, now we know who Kang is, like officially. Not He Who Remains from Loki. It's Kang. And it's like, hey, if you like this, you can't wait to see him fight the Avengers. Can't wait to see him fight, well, really, the whole MCU, really. But, like, the Avengers especially, or Fantastic Four, or whoever. And I feel like that just would have been a better idea. And it would have been a great way to kick off Phase 5. Like, they haven't done a villain movie yet in the MCU at all.
That's
That'd be good.
So it'd be fun. I mean, the closest we're gonna get is, I guess, Agatha's getting her own show.
Yeah, we get anti-heroes, but we don't get, like, villains.
Yeah. So it would have been...
They're going to make a way to make Agatha a morally great character.
Oh, technically she is, actually.
Well, yeah.
Agatha's not a bad
but the
guy.
thing is, like, you could also look at it that Kang is a morally great character because he believes that, like, these lives are so insignificant on a universal scale, like a multi-universal scale, that it's like stepping on a bug.
Well,
it's
Kang's
almost
whole
like
thing...
a lot of
Like, he
villains
believes
can
that
be
he's-
categorized into anti-villains, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, it's because, Kang...
He believes he's trying to save the multiverse.
Well, because because the incursions are coming, which is like, which we kind of saw a bit of in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So it's like he's kind of like Thanos in that way. In that Thanos is like, I'm trying to keep the universe together. Right? If I delete 50% of y'all,
yeah, but
there'll
Thanos
be
was
plenty
just
of
fucking
resources.
dumb. He could have just made 50% more, resources.
But it's like with Kang, he's like, no, it's inevitable. The universe is going to end. So I need to take over so that I can get things prepared so that doesn't happen. And
You gotta break a few eggs.
yeah,
To make an omelet,
he's it's
Soviet Russia.
which is funny because the Eternals already did that in the Eternals movie with the Celestials being all like, I'm just going to destroy a few planets, but then we're going to make more planets later. So, maybe trillions of people got to die, but we'll make like or a couple billion, but then we'll make trillions. So it's all good. You know what I'm saying? We're gods.
Individual life doesn't matter.
Anyway, grades.
Data.
Why were you grade? Like, Alex, what's your grade for this movie?
I think it's a solid... I'm going to give 2 grades. For a Marvel and Ant-Man movie, it's a C. For a Paul Rudd movie, it's a B. Like I said, I think his acting was really good. I love Paul Rudd. He goes through his lines and his scenes really smoothly. I think Marvel feels like they keep putting 2 movies in one. The same with like the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That was a Doctor Strange and a Wanda movie. This one was a Kang and an Ant-Man movie. They have this like, I get what you're trying to do, but it's clearly not working very well. And this was your jump off start for Phase 5 and introducing this very powerful villain that ended up not being very powerful. I do give credit to the CGI and the green screening. That wasn't as horrible as it could have been. I thought it was actually really good. It was very colorful. They really got to start toning down the golds they use in these movies. I get it. It's supposed to be like magical in other words, but like there are other colors than gold, man. Like having silver's great. I love wearing silver. A lot of the characters weren't exactly necessary to the plot and were there for like an emotional device, and I get that. But like the whole family didn't need to be involved the entire time, and just like this is supposed to be a Scott Lang. And the way they ended it, I think they didn't give enough credit by letting his character survive or like going home and being happy. They kind of discredited their villain and then like dishonored their hero because he ended up not making a sacrifice. He ended up just, doing what he always does.
Nothing changed.
Yeah, and like it was the same thing. They close up the realm. Those people are still down there, or what's left of them. I don't know if everybody's left down there, but like that, and they go back up and have their own merry little way. And yeah, he gets a sense of dread, but like he's also been through tons of shit, so like he's gonna be living with a sense of dread his entire life from now on. That kid's definitely gonna have to go to therapy. Okay, Cassie, definitely therapy for her. But like they could have done. Had they been more willing to actually treat it like an actual Marvel movie and not a goofy Ant-Man movie, they probably could have done so much better. So I was like I said, like a C. It was very average. I didn't regret watching it. I would recommend it to others, but at the same time, it could have been more. Definitely could have been more. What about you guys?
I would give it like a C plus because like while I was watching it, I enjoyed myself. Like I I would not go back and unwatch it. And while I was watching it, like, I wasn't thinking about, like, the CGI, which means that I wasn't noticing, like, flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Like, while I was watching it. I was like, oh, this is cool, that's cool. Like, the plot wasn't great, and, like, the characters felt underdeveloped, but it wasn't enough that it was, like, unenjoyable. So, I mean, I liked it. I had a good time. But, you know, same sentiments, like, Kang didn't really feel like a threat to me. And I don't know how they're going to use this to jump off and, like, go on, because they tied up all the loose ends, or else it feels like that, and they're like, maybe we didn't. But, like, they didn't show anything to be like, oh, no, there's something, like, there's still a threat here, other than, I guess, like, the Council of Kangs.
They didn't show
was,
a
like, an
threat for
after-credit
that
scene,
particular,
too.
like, Kang. They didn't show a threat for the Kang that was killed.
They didn't make this Ant-Man movie feel like we needed it in this.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like whether or not this movie was created, the plot that they're thinking of making would have gone on.
Yeah.
It was just, like, a fun movie to watch. But, like, it wasn't, like, in the MCU storyline, it didn't feel necessary.
Mm-hmm. I'm giving this movie a D+. I think...
Don't be rude to Paul Rudd.
It's not Paul Rudd. If anything, Paul Rudd and Jonathan Majors, it feels bad because both of them carried this movie on their backs. Because they're the best parts of this movie. Whenever it's them together, I'm like, this is fantastic. And I guess Michelle Pfeiffer's scenes when she's with Kang are great. When she's with anyone else, it's like the script just holds her back, and I'm like, why? Like, she's like, because Michelle Pfeiffer's a great actress, but there's a lot of there's too many characters in this movie, and it's because they want to have, like, especially because Janet and Hank are Ant-Man and the Wasp. They're the original two in the comics, and then Scott is also Ant-Man, and then Hope is a new character. They made her up, but technically they do have a daughter.
She's now the Wasp.
They do have a daughter that is Wasp in the comics too, but that's a whole other thing. And then Cassie becomes Stature in the comics. So it's like, okay, Cassie has a suit, whatever. But to have all of them in one movie is a lot. It was already starting to feel like a lot with just Ant-Man and Hope and Hank in one movie together in the last one. And now you've added more characters.
It's like when you make a pizza bigger. There's just a lot of air.
So it's just like there's just too many characters in this movie that they don't get enough time to flesh out any of them as far as, like, where their journey is now. Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, we know who Ant-Man is, we know who Hope is, we know we know who the characters are, but every movie should feel like these characters are growing and changing. It's why people didn't really feel Thor: Love and Thunder that much, because it doesn't feel like Thor changes at all in that movie from start to finish. He's the same character he was when he started as when the movie ends. And it's the same problem here, where it's like, it doesn't feel like these characters grow really, because the movie holds itself back to let them grow, to let Ant-Man fail, to let Cassie be wrong, to let Hope maybe not like Janet so much by the end of this movie. Like all these really interesting drama moments are in there, and this movie takes advantage of none of them because it still wants to be happy-go-lucky MCU. But if you're trying to use this as your setup movie for this epic journey we're about to, like, you know, this next however many years long journey we're going to do, like how we did the 11-year journey to get to Thanos, you got, like, one of these movies is just going to have to be dark. Like, it's sad. Like, it's, they can't all be like, and everything was all right at the end. Like, some of these are going to have to be, like, your child leaves the theater traumatized because their favorite superhero died. Like
when Iron Man died.
Right. Like, it's just gonna have to be that.
Iron Man dies?
In Endgame, yeah.
Well, we are in the spoiler section, so it's fine.
That's fine.
But it's just, I wanted more of that in this movie, and it had the potential to be that. I think that's why I'm giving it such a low score, because it's not like this movie, that wasn't a possibility. It's like, you could see the writing on the wall, especially with how they use Kang and how well they do making him, like, the serious counterpoint to how goofy everything is. I feel like this movie had a lot of potential and just kind of wasted it all. and you know, maybe hopefully the next thing I think Kang's supposed to be in is Loki season 2. So we'll see, maybe, because that's the entry point of Kang, and that show handled him, I think, pretty well. So I hope that in Loki season 2, I mean, this after credit scene especially makes me feel like maybe they will, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think what it essentially like comes down to, at least in my opinion, is that it follows the hero's journey template until the very end, when it's like status quo but changed, which makes it feel like wrong because it's following this template that we know so well until the end where there's no growth. And then that just feels wrong, and it makes the whole thing feel like none of it should have happened, like story-wise.
Yeah, I mean, he just ends up in the same... The movie starts and ends
it's
the same way.
It's just the same thing.
He ends up with the family, that's it, yeah.
And differently. Like, it should be status quo but different. Because that's how every single hero's journey story goes, generally. At least in our culture.
Yeah, well, one thing did change. He had to pay... that man made sure he paid for that sandwich.
And
that
was
coffee.
An expensive sandwich.
He's like, you gonna pay for this coffee now, this time. I know who you are now. You ain't Spider-Man. Pay that $12. Just pay that shit right now. Put it on the counter. And Scott's just a nice guy. He pays it.
Spider-Man's also like 12 compared to Scott Lang, who's like in his 40s.
Yeah.
Well, he's in college now. Like, they did announce new Spider-Man movie is coming eventually from the MCU. So.
Oh, this might be a little off topic, but Alex, what do you think about Loki and female Loki being together? I think it's incest. Jerome does not.
I said it's not incest because they're the same person, just from a different universe.
And I said, no, I feel like that it still feels incesty to me.
It's an incesty vibe. I agree with that. It's technically not, but it's also the way... It's also the way...
It's like twins. Because
yes and no.
their genetics are not exactly the same. Because
it's the same with Umbrella Academy. When Luther
I don't really watch it.
They're adopted by the same person. Technically, not incest. Raised by the same man, call each other brother and sister. Incesty vibes.
It's still I guess like Dexter. Like that was very, very incesty.
Yeah.
I never finished Loki because of those weird vibes. It would just grossed me out too much.
Yeah, but at the same time, they weren't raised together. They weren't raised as family. They never called each other any
person.
I mean, we
I
all
like
have fun
for
with
me.
ourselves.
I'm
it
just
doesn't
saying,
have.
If they had
it's
a
not,
baby, that child would be fucked up genetically.
No, it wouldn't, because they're like, for all we know, she's from a different universe. Their genetics might not even be the same as ours, like how it works.
Maybe.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, it's not incesty to me, because I'm like, they're from a completely different universe.
But the way that they set it up, it just feels
even the way they describe it, they don't describe it as an incestuous relationship. They describe it as a narcissistic one, because they're the same person.
Yeah.
So
it has a vibe to it, but technically it's
the
not.
vibes are off.
But it is better. I prefer it more over to the ones who are like adopted siblings, or have grown up in a relationship that
siblings.
Yeah, or step siblings, or step siblings, adopted siblings, or people who have just generally called each other family. They are strangers when they meet. Yes, it is yourself, but like, love yourself. We all do. That's the whole
Not
point.
that
yeah?
literally, please. No.
For some people, it is. So
for some people, they look in the mirror and they're like, "You're the only person I'm attracted to."
Yeah. It's get weird, and that's when things are, your own private thing.
Yeah,
so
but
like, I get what you're saying.
Need to watch that.
Yeah, I was really hoping, for the Loki connection though, past just the after credit scene, because I was like. That's the other problem the MCU is facing right now. Nothing feels connected anymore.
Mm-hmm. It all feels like fragments.
Especially with the shows where there's like no crossover unless they absolutely need to, like She-Hulk. Like you have to have the Hulk in there because that's where her powers come from. It's a blood transfusion.
Just use Tommy Woo. No, Jimmy Woo.
Well, Jimmy Woo's in this movie for like one scene with no dialogue,
which I was so upset about.
I know.
I meant like they could have used him in Miss Marvel? Was it Miss Marvel?
Yeah, that could have been cool if he was in Miss
They could
Marvel.
have used him that. They could have somehow used him in. I feel like you could have found a way to use him in Loki, some way, somehow. Like he could have been almost like the new Nick Fury. He's just
like,
a little bit in everything.
The new Coulson.
Yeah, more so than new
Yeah.
Coulson, where he just has his hands in everything. And then he's played by a fantastic actor. Jimmy Woo's character in general is cool. And I love that they kept that whole sleight of hand thing that I had mentioned in the last podcast that he learned from Scott Lang.
I think that would have... you know what, Alex? I think that's actually a really good idea. They need a new Coulson.
Yeah.
Because when the first movies were coming out, because they were new and nothing was connected then either, that was the connective tissue, was Phil Coulson. So it would be nice if maybe like Jimmy Woo became the new Coulson, you know?
That almost, the human being that they all connect with. And they're like, well, he might be hurt, so now we care about him, so we got to do what we can for him. Mm-hmm. Need that human connection.
Like Kang just kicks Jimmy Woo and they're like, hold up, you ain't gonna mess with Jimmy. Ant-Man, Captain America, everybody, we gotta get over here.
Like, they took Jimmy.
Yo, that scene though, when he's curb stomps Scott.
Oh my god. I was shook.
I was like, Kang, that's when he became a true black man. He was like, nigga, mother, like just curb stomp.
He's like, we're playing by the old rules now.
That was brutal. But then it wasn't that bad because one scene later, all the blood that was on Scott's face was gone. I did notice that. He had blood running down his mouth and nose, and then in the next scene, it was gone.
Well, especially because Scott throws punches. I love that scene when Scott gets back up and Kang's like, are you okay? Come on over here. And Scott throws one punch and Kang just blocks it, punches him in the face. I'm like, you see how big he is? You are not going to beat him, okay?
Well, also, he just has, like, blood pouring out of multiple orifices. He's like, I'm going to take a swing. Yeah, I'm going to take a swing. Which direction are you trying to aim? Just trying to figure that out. What version are you seeing of him? What number are you trying to punch?
Right, because after the curb stop alone, I'm like, I feel like he would start seeing stars. Like, God dang. Because this man crushed the helmet under his foot. And that's with no technology, no powers. He's just that strong.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Scott was desperately fighting. Like, he was desperately fighting to keep him out of that portal. Because, he would have gone back, killed his daughter, most likely, and then the whole Earth. I guess. He was fighting for himself and his family and the whole
At this
planet.
point, should we be saving the Earth? Can we just let the villains have it and let it go?
Okay, but, also think about all the dogs and the cats. Cheddar would die, too. That's unacceptable.
It happens.
Just because
it happens.
Just because humans might be irredeemable doesn't mean the rest of the planet is.
They'll
cats kill each other all the time. They do cruel things all the time.
But they don't have the moral compass to make it
I don't
meaningful.
believe that. Cats do. Cats know what they're doing.
Cheddar's a dick. He's an asshole. This man figured out that the lamp by my bed is a touch lamp and that he gets fed at 5 o'clock, and at 5:01 that lamp turns on. Or now I have this thing, I have a CPAP machine and my tube hangs on this little hanger thing. He has figured out if I grab this, it pulls on my mom's face. So no, they're asshole. I don't know where are you?
They know exactly what they're doing. They are very smart creatures.
Okay, but they aren't destroying the Earth and we are.
That's because they don't have the possibility. You believe me, all right? If they had the capability.
No, cats are one of the main reasons for a lot of species going endangered.
But that's also humans' fault. We're bringing an invasive species.
You can make as many excuses as you want, but cats are deadly creatures.
I love cats. I love cats. But they are a whole nother creature too.
It's just like the blackfish. They're the murderers of the sea. Anyway, socials. Here we go. Because we've been recording for nearly 2 hours. Let's do this. Alex, where can people find you?
That was a rattling moment. You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on TikTok. And on TikTok, you can find The First Ones to Die, where I post little clips of the show as well as things we may be reviewing ahead of time, and also my own mini reviews of when I'm stoned, and I like to annoy people by my inaccuracy. The last one I reviewed was Ghostbusters, and people really enjoyed that.
Ghostbusters.
But so come see me there. What about you, Jerome? Where are we finding you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Rhett on Instagram, as well as at RoboZoo Media and at Jerome_the_show to see all the other creative stuff I'm working on. And follow us on all of our social medias, again, at The First Ones to Die. But also check out the YouTube channel if you want some extra content that you can't get on the streaming services. So stuff like book reviews, mini reviews, gaming content, all types of things. You can find it all up there on the YouTube channel. And definitely do pay attention to the Instagram, because we will eventually start streaming on Twitch again. So be on the lookout for that when we're streaming and when we go live, so that you can be there, be part of the conversation, comment, all that stuff. Well, speaking of commenting, also comment below on this video if you're watching it on YouTube, and tell us what you thought about Ant-Man, or just a review, or just things in general. I don't know. Tell us what you think about pizza being enlarged or something. I don't know.
Nice.
Let's hear your stories about quantum dynamics.
Did you want to plug anything or whatever? I know you didn't
sure.
last time, so.
Sure. You can find me a lot of places at Ari Omeo, which is like Romeo and Juliet, but Ari and then Omeo. I make fan fiction art. I don't know if that's your thing. Go check it out.
I love fan fiction.
AO3. It's self-insert fan fiction. Like, the YN, but I don't use YN.
Like, it's cool. You should see my AO3.
First
You'll never
person
see
fan
it, but
fiction.
like, you should see my AO3, but you'll never see. I nobody's ever seen
I don't
my
care.
AO3.
It's on the internet for everyone to see. That's your cup of tea. That's
Not
your
if
cup
you-
of tea.
What are you doing? Sorry, Cheddar's showing what he can do on this podcast.
Show me what you do.
It's causing disruption.
All right. Well, tune in next week when we talk about, speaking of animals, we talk about the greatest of animals, Cocaine Bear.
Yes.
Talking about this bear out here on this cane, baby. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I got
It's-
chastised for saying cocaine earlier. I don't remember that.
Hey,
You
it's a
just-
family show.
Bear's just out here like, come on, bring out the like put it in the picnic basket, baby.
The real story of Cocaine Bear was very sad.
It is
though.
very tragic and sad,
That
but
co-
this is
that
not
co-
that
before
Cocaine
we-
Bear.
Before we get
quickly.
into that, I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye to our viewers.
Okay, goodbye.
Before we
Yeah.
do another bumming out. See y'all next week. Have a
See
good
you next week.
and thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.